Yeah, it's always nice when you have ideas for features that, you know, add a lot of value but don't require too much by the way of capital investment or time or both.
Yeah,
Sometimes they do.
absolutely. Yeah. So actually, one of the ideas was turned into like a stretch goal that we squeezed in between two stretch goals just to add something more because it was such a good idea, and I think it's something we might actually do even if we won't reach the actual goal.
Oh, nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people in here now.
Yeah, usually for these, I usually give a couple of minutes for people to pile in, but people will probably keep coming in while you're presenting as well. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
completely fine. Um, it's nice to actually meet up with a bunch of other developers.
yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
I want to be very clear. I'm not at all an expert in any of this, so it's just me trying my darnest to do a good job, basically.
Yeah, well, Lauren's looking great. Every time I see an update, a picture, or a video, it's just looking better and better every time. I can't wait to play the game.
Thanks,
Yeah,
I
it's gonna be
appreciate that.
fun.
So the reason why I've kept coming back to this Discord server for the whole time is that you kind of got me started with the game development, like in general.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
I downloaded Unreal Engine 4 and I don't remember what Unity version it was back then, but this
Hmm.
was maybe early 2021 maybe.
Okay.
So I was starting to like looking through some courses that would like help me get a complete game
Hmm.
uh, just to get started. So I ended up uninstalling Unity and just went with like one of the ultimate developer courses or whatever it was called
Hmm.
that you made, and it gave me a lot of face time like with the engine, uh, which helped me understand a lot of the like the features.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
It was extremely helpful. So I just wanted to sort of keep coming back here and do some like progress updates every now now and then, just to
Yeah. Yeah, it's always
stick
exciting to
around.
see them.
Yeah, all right. Do we have like a? I saw somebody suggested like an AMA or something like that. Do we have an agenda to go through, or should I just like?
Yeah, we can. If you're ready, you can just kind of do your thing and show us whatever you'd like. And at the end, if you'd like to take Q&A, if you if you
Mhm.
have the time, then we can ask you some questions possibly. But yeah, I'd like to just give you the floor and let you show us anything and everything that you'd like to show us.
Yeah.
And talk about the game if you could, and talk about the if you'd like the Kickstarter as well. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of us would be interested in hearing about your experience with doing that and how that turned out.
Yeah. So I could start with the Kickstarter since it's kind of the thing I've been working the most with lately. Uh,
Awesome.
I Do you mind if I share my screen?
Oh, please do. Yeah. And I'll go ahead and mute myself and give you the floor.
All right. Yeah, and if anyone wants to ask like anything along the way, just feel free to either ping me in a chat channel or just unmute yourself and talk, of course. Um, let's see, like so. All right. So a lot of pretty much everything I've been doing regarding to the Kickstarter, the marketing, the game development has been like a first, like everything I've done. I have no prior experience that is like related to game development or marketing. So uh, this just like the game development was had a huge learning curve. So the initial thing was that I did was actually uh, posting a bunch of clips on every social media just to see what went well with the audience and what didn't really work, which allowed me to sort of get an idea of the color palette, the themes, what kind of things are more interesting to uh, the, the people watching the clips. And it wasn't a big shocker that combat was ranking pretty highly, so we made a lot of combat montages and such, and sort of just put them together. Um, Once we had a bunch of material, I made contact with a person who could consult me on how to properly set up paid ads and such. I ended up just spending like a few hundred to understand the flow. Um, and What I can say, if anybody would like to create a Kickstarter, is to make like portion of a part of your budget, if possible, towards gaining leads before you launch the campaign, because that's the savior basically for the entire campaign. We launched with I think 960 followers or something like that, and a lead list of like a bunch of emails that we've gathered throughout the development time, of maybe 1,200 people or so, and it converted to 183 backers. So if you have like, let's say 20 or so followers, and you have a goal of $3,000 or $4,000, it's going to be a really uh, hard campaign for you. So I actually plan to show you like the graph as well before we scroll down to the content. So the way the campaign is looking here is that this was the day one. We The first 20 hours, I think it was, before we got completely funded. And in I think 2 hours we received the equivalent of 5,000. Oh right, sorry, currency conversion. So it's roughly 10 Swedish crowns for $1. So just divide this number by 10 and you'll be fine. This was a little bit over $5,500 then, which most of it we received like within 2 hours. And then day two was roughly the same. And then you can see how it sort of tapered off here. You see how like the sixth here, we lost a larger pledge who just canceled their pledge. We have some adjustments. So something I would say you should be careful of is to, when you write updates for the entire campaign, definitely make sure you bring value to them, because I made some pretty stupid updates, I'd say, that reminded people, first of all, that they actually made a pledge to the campaign, but I also think I might have come across as a little bit spammy, which basically had me rethink how to approach the update section. A lot of like Kickstarter campaign specialists will advise you to make a lot of updates, like at least every 3 days or so. But the correlation of people canceling or downgrading their pledges is massive. It's real. It really needs to be high value updates if you're going to send something. All right, here you have the reward popularity based on the amounts pledged. So something I would recommend, we had, let's see, I think we had two reward tiers that were, one was based on the first like 50 pledges or something like that. And then the other one was this one, early bird alpha, which is the alpha access to the game, which was active for 48 hours after launch. So those were the two most popular ones. So we had a $16 early bird just the game, and then we had the alpha access with a bunch of different rewards as well. So these two were the completely dominant the first 48 hours. Once the 51st like sheep game tier was done, this one started rushing, which is the same tier, just a little bit more expensive. Um, and this one has been like the most frequent one we get. We I would definitely add, like, I've been scrolling through a lot of games Kickstarters, and don't be too scared to add like extremely high tiers, as long as you feel like you can bring some sort of value to them. This one is the equivalent of about $200, 300, 500 ish, and then $1,000. And you see, we have received backers. Oh, and this final one is an executive producer, which is someone who reached out to me separately and offered a private donation. But I said that if they want to back the campaign, they can do it through the campaign. So they backed it here. That's a $5,000, 1,000, and then we have 3 backers at 500. So all of these are uh, reward tiers where I offer. Um, Basically, you get to be an ideas guy for Lorne for a specific area. Either you get to design a quest giver or like a quest, um, like a, like a 3-part quest or something like that. And then you have a wizard where you will work with me to sort of design the idea of how will the VFX look for a spell. What will it be called? Roughly the numbers, the damages, and the mana cost and such within the parameters we set up, and of course, what will the spell do? So I talked to this backer, and he had a utility spell in mind. So we will have to sort of test it out together. But basically, these tiers are all tiers where you get to basically just wish what you want, and then we sort of give these people insight in how the game is built, basically. So yeah, 2 takeaways, and I'm about midway through the campaign right now. So one of the learnings I had, I will actually implement for the end of the campaign as well, and that's the 2 tiers here that were limited in time and amount. I will do a similar one for the end of the campaign, just to try to get a little bit more traffic in. Uh, and then just don't be afraid to get like a few of these really high tier rewards if you feel like you can bring some value to it. Um, cool. Let's see
Can I,
here. Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
can I ask questions while you go?
Yeah, for sure.
That chart you were viewing, so that looked like a count per tier. Is there a view of that where it's currency per tier so you can see what tier brought the most money?
Yeah, I'd say that's the one, right? So the
That
high,
was
yeah, so the higher amount here. Um, oh no, maybe not actually.
on the left,
Uh,
that 10, 20, 30.
yeah,
That's the number of pledges,
yeah,
right?
that's the number of
Right.
pledges. Yeah.
But you
So
might have
this
had
one,
only yeah, that one there, dollar amount probably brought in a lot of money compared to the other ones.
yeah. So there is like Kickstarter actually have pretty decent analytics. I can download like all the numbers and just use Google Sheets to sort of break it down.
I see.
So,
Okay,
but I don't. I'm sorry, I
thanks.
don't have an easy way. I don't think to show you
No, that's fine.
the.
That's fine. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So something like the reasoning behind adding those early birds and then the late bloomer reward tiers is, one, I've seen a lot of people do that, and two, I kind of realized it was a good way to drive early traffic. So if we look at the Kickstarter discovery queue here and we sort things on, hold on, if we sort things on games, it's gonna default on Magic. Magic is it's a filter that's it it isn't entirely transparent of how it ranks, but one of the factors are your own interests. So it's like a version of recommended thing, but it also factors in things like velocity, how many backers have you had in a certain amount of time, and how much traffic do you bring into the Kickstarter page. So in this one, like just the games category, there will be a lot of board games and card games. Like I think pretty much 9 out of 10 will be a board game or a card game. Here is the first video game, I think. So that's a few rows before we see one video game. So where you actually have a shot if you're an indie, that would be on the video games category. And then if to rank higher in popularity, the Magic one, the yeah, of course, like the newest, you'll automatically qualify for that one when you launch. But to qualify or rank higher on these, you'll need to bring in a lot of people, and one way to do it is to have limited reward tiers. Like I suppose it's a very basic sales thing. We have an offer that is about to time out. So here worldwide, I think we're ranked maybe 20th. Yeah, it looks like around there. But when we launched, we contacted like every we direct messaged every follower we had. We made some posts. We had some cross promos with a few friends of mine that had really successful Kickstarters. So we just tried to drive as much traffic as possible towards our campaign page, which had us rank between 1 and 4th the first 2 days. And what happened in the end there is that the people that found us on Kickstarter amounted for like 80% of the funds we got in the first week or so. Usually that number is a little bit lower because you have a large following on the side that you bring in, but now we were really lucky to sort of rank really high pretty fast, which helped us a lot to get there. So yeah, that's the logic behind the rankings and sort of what the data looks like. The page itself, I have no like. I'm a really shitty designer, so I did have to learn a few things, and everything here is basically just me trying my best and like looking at people copying how people designed their pages and got help with from some YouTube tutorials and whatnot. So this first page is like I chose it based on this image. I chose it based on how many people clicked on the on me emailing our community that provided their email address for LORNE updates, and I just made a simple A/B test between two similar pictures and just took the one that was way better. So this one had a click-through rate that was like almost 3 times as high, and both of the images I sent out asking for a follow on the Kickstarter page was about 500 people. So I just went with this one because this is the first thing presented when you get to the page, apart from the capsule art. A video here is really important. Sorry about sound. So I just added the game trailer here to basically most of the funded campaigns have some sort of video there. Usually it's when it's a board game or a product, like let's say some sort of clothes or a watch or something, you'll usually have a presentation of the founders. But I didn't feel like making a high production video myself, since I find the game is more interesting than me, so I just added the gameplay trailer there instead. After the image, I added some social media things here. I did see a massive increase in wish lists. So I think I've received about 100 wish lists a day since launch. So that was unexpectedly good actually. So I had a separate button for it in the beginning, but we didn't really see any clicks on it. So I moved it up and put it together with the other social links. And then just a brief explanation. Something I would recommend anyone making a campaign of their own is to just add a lot of relevant GIFs and images to show that you have a lot of things in the game, rather than writing a lot of text, because people won't read it and they will just exit the campaign page pretty quickly. So here I wrote a few sort of inspirations, and this is a good place to talk a little bit about the game as well. So initially I was just looking at Zelda Breath of the Wild because I enjoyed that game. I wanted to make something similar, but I've tried to figure out how to do it as a solo indie, basically. So smaller scope, maybe not as advanced mechanics on every level. It's such a polished game, so it's a it's a pretty high bar to get up to. But one way I figured out that I can do it is to make it a little bit more arcadey. So another inspiration of mine was 7 Days to Die, uh, which is the gameplay loop that you have there, where you roam the world to scrounge for loot, to improve your base in order to be able to survive the next red moon that occurs every 7 days. So that's basically how the game. Oh, I thought I was going to ask a question. All right, so basically, I combined the idea of Zelda Breath of the Wild with the sort of the base building farming part, where you get a certain limited amount of time to discover the world, um, and you will have to, so like when you're dropped into the world, you will have a certain amount of waves you need to survive. Once you do, the game will restart, but without higher world tier, which makes everything more difficult. So you'll get a proper victory screen and all that. However, if you want to continue, there is like a built-in new game plus into the game. Genshin Impact, I really like the visual style, but I didn't try to emulate it too much. I went way more into the World of Warcraft stylized thing rather than the anime style. Once we were funded, I moved up the stretch goals a little bit higher, because what I noticed is that a lot of people asked, like they went in like to the first few images here, and then I either had someone join the Discord, which would like it takes a lot more time to figure out rather than just find the stretch goals, and then I had a few private messages asking me like what the planned stretch goals are. So I had people recommend me. They recommended just having one stretch goal at a time. But what I realized was that people asked for what the next ones are as well. So I decided to add two at a time, just to make sure that people are like there's a higher probability that one of these will be something you would like to see in the game. I have planned a whole bunch of stretch goals just to be sure that I have something that I thought through already. So my suggestion would be, think about stretch goals way higher than you think you'll ever get funded, just to make sure you won't just throw in random stuff here. So the next one up here is advanced mounts. I already planned to make a mount system, but I wanted to make a little bit more complex mount system than if I had some extra funds. So I'm talking to a guy who is making like the models for me and animations, and then we will spend some extra time just programming some like abilities and upgrades for the mounts as well, like increased running speed, or you can make a double jump, or you can make your mount smaller for a certain period of time, or shoot a fireball or a stampede ability, whatever. Um, so that's a really fun idea that I think we will hit this one, and I'm pretty excited for it. So I wouldn't add things here that isn't interesting to me. So a person suggested the adventure mode to me, which was basically just remove the invasions from the game and make it way more focused on building and decorating and farming. So that's a pretty easy implementation on my end. So that was a no-brainer. I squeezed it in between two stretch goals. Because if you have this as an option, we can also target a completely different audience. Because the style of the game is pretty like cutesy if you if you don't look at a few of the darker elements. So the suggestion here was simply to make it focused a bit more on adventure, like not having the timer for the invasions and the bosses attacking your base. This will also unlock like it would motivate why adding like props and such for just decoration, like cosmetics, into the building system, because that would be otherwise that would be a pretty big scope creep. Uh, though with the adventure mode as stretch goal, that would completely motivate the time spent on that. So I'm pretty excited about both of these, but we have like maybe 15 or 20 more stretch goals just in case. Um, yeah, all these are just going through the different environments. So all these screenshots are taken from in the game, from the different biomes. So you have the Blighted Bastion at the top here, which is the first temple where you are supposed to kill a very bad guy. It's an old dwarven fortress that you dive into and sort of find your way through. It's very similar to the Zelda like temples you'll find, where you have to solve a bunch of puzzles to get through it. And it has a pretty big reward at the end. So there will be 3 larger temples that is about 45 minutes to an hour of gameplay, and one is completely done, scripted and decorated, lighting is set and everything. Yeah, and then just like short section headers showing like the features I want to have in the game, complete with some moving pictures. A lot of GIFs is definitely recommended, because there is you could have just a bunch of videos, but it takes a lot of time to load, and nobody will actually click on every video to see what you have. And images is frankly too boring for people to get interested. So I chose to sort of have something at the top just to catch the interest, and then some images showing the ideas in game after that. So all of these are taken directly from in game. And then you have another section here with some GIFs showing some of the gameplay. The building. So the reason why I can't actually show gameplay from in-game right now is that I'm currently decoupling a bunch of systems to implement farming and building and invasions and enemy building destructions and such. So the enemies right now won't attack the player because I'm trying to debug a few things, and the building system is not really looking the way I made it look for this specific GIF. It's a bunch of blocks and broken textures, and it's basically just in a testing phase. So it's if we're gonna watch some gameplay, we're going to look at some recorded gameplay instead. So the idea is that you will build your base, something that could look like this, and you will get resources by roaming the world, beating mini bosses spread across the world of Lorne, solving puzzles. There's a lot of ways you can actually get the get the resources needed. So there will be a bunch of upgrades for walls. There are upgrades for your weapons. I think right now we have like 160 or so items that are all possible to upgrade 2 or 3 tiers. And they have written descriptions, in-game models, icons, everything is pretty much done with those. But I'll keep adding more as I go along. The item creation is actually kind of fun. Yeah, so precision-based action combat is, well, it could just say combat, but this specific text went way better with one of the tests I ran. Just showing a bunch of things. Here I broke it down into melee, just showing a few of the features that you have within the two combat systems. So that's what's an execution, and you see like the parry here. That's a perfect parry. If you time it perfectly, you'll stun the opponent. The picture is a shield breaker attack, so it's a charge attack that goes through shields. If you don't use it on shielded enemies, like for the first attack, you will have a damage reduction of about, let's say, 80 to 85% per attack. So you want to use this for shielded opponents. And then range attack, we have a bunch of different arrows doing different things. We can freeze traps, we can freeze enemies, we can create platforms with the arrows. We have like regular arrows, and we have all of those are tiered also. So you have a longer duration for platforms, for freeze, for like the damage, and the radius for explosions. So I created a way to quickly implement the freeze effect on basically anything in the world. So adding the possibility to freeze something like a tree or a bear or a rock or like a moving platform is pretty easy. Which I wanted to make it feel like you can actually affect the world around you. And it's kind of a lot of work to do it after the fact, but this is one of the things we actually did pretty early on. So we've been just sort of adding this interface as we went along, just to make sure things are as interactable as possible. Down here we tested an idea that didn't go so well, but it's still on the campaign page. So the idea is that you can get like soul dust to increase the power of your gear. But if you use the soul dust to improve your gear, you will get like weaker rewards because you drain the power core from the soul dust, and you get soul dust by killing enemies. So there's like a balancing act here where you can make the game easier but get like worse rewards. But if you are playing it on a little bit of a hard mode, by not enchanting your gear too much, you will have a hard time killing the opponents, but you'll get more resources. And the soul dust is used for everything, like enchantment. It's a carrot. It's gold basically. Here we have a GIF of the crafting. Just explain it real quickly. Unexpected, the crafting was something everybody asked for, but not a lot of people spend any time looking at. So once we like deranked the position on the campaign page, the backer the backer frequency got way higher. And I honestly have no clue, because everybody wanted to see how it looked in game. So here are some concept art that I just add like a parchment looking background to. Yeah, some our composer made some custom music specifically for Lorne, so I showcased those here. Uh, and then we have a Kickstarter exclusive section where we just show what you will get as a Kickstarter backer, no matter what tier you actually back on. So you'll get the Dragon Companion, the Dark Ranger skin, and nothing you buy on like Kickstarter will change the gameplay for you in game because everything will be available in game as well. Like you won't get the specific outfit, but you can get outfits in the game. But like the Dragon Companion will have the same functionality like all the other companions, but it will probably have more emotes or um, uh, some more sounds and just making it a little bit more interesting for the people actually wanting to back. Uh, why back Lorne? It's just a thing like explaining why you should back Lorne. My biggest thing is this one. Uh, I think it's a pretty sad development where really large studios started using Kickstarter for to fund their own projects. I think it's a little bit better now, but I'm not sure if Kickstarter actually made some sort of policy against it. But at some one point, you had like AAA studios trying to run Kickstarter campaigns for like follow-up games. Then we have the reward section, and you see the links you can click on the left side here. These are manually added, so if you run a Kickstarter, don't forget to add these. They're really, really important. A lot of people go into the page, scroll down like half a page, and then click on the rewards tier or the stretch goal tiers, basically. So I just made a bunch of things with my very, very limited editing skills here. I made like a visual of the digital copy. The outfits are taken from screenshots in game. All these objects are from in game. I just took a screenshot inside Unreal Engine and I edited out the background for them. You have a bunch of tiers, which just tells you exactly what you get for each tier. Then you have the exclusive tiers, and then you have a sheet here that you can see what you're getting basically. That's me, and here are some other people just helping out. And then we have the risk and challenges page, which is basically the same for most campaigns. There might be some like things that you add or change, but it's pretty samey when you look at games. So the thing I had going for me is that I've worked on the game for almost 3 years before actually launching a Kickstarter. I wanted to make sure I could deliver on what I was promising in the campaign, because I'm very aware of all the scam games that's been run on Kickstarter, and I don't want to be one of those. I think that's it for the Kickstarter, actually. Is there any questions regarding the campaign right now?
So you said,
Yeah,
so you consulted with someone about marketing. Did you consult with someone about the whole Kickstarter itself as well? Did you get some professional advice for the Kickstarter, or did you just do all this, figure all this out on your own?
Yeah, so I actually have the developers of this game. So what I did was just I started reaching out to other developers. So Devon is a guy that is developing Elements, which is really similar to my game. So I decided to reach out to him like way before I actually launched this. We've been talking for a few years, and when he had this super successful Kickstarter, um, I just reached out to him for all the learnings he had to share. And yeah, like this, for example, was something he recommended to show like just the inspirations. So he shared a lot of best practices that he wished he would have known. So a lot of the things are actually shaped after his Kickstarter, um, based on his own recommendations. He also had a publisher that helped with the marketing. So he had like it's a completely different machine behind this campaign, but he learned a lot from these guys as well. Wreck-It Games. No, actually, sorry, it's Apogee. Hold on, let me find the actual guys here. Yeah, these are the guys. So Apogee Games. I think they made a few pretty well-known classic games. But yeah, those were basically the guys helping him. So he just transferred the learnings over to me, so I could know sort of how to present the campaign better. And Cristalla has a pretty good hook where it's Dark Souls but with cats. Um, so these guys also had a marketing agency helping them out, which resulted in a 100k plus campaign. And then, yeah, they did exactly the same, just shared everything they had learned from it. Apart from that, I talked to Backer Kit, who specializes in helping, like providing a bunch of crowdfunding tools, basically. And yeah, so I just combined the ideas and the tips I got from those three sources.
Awesome. Have you applied for an Epic Mega Grant? And if not, are you planning to?
Yes, I have, and I was very denied. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was pretty much at the same time that Elements uh, asked for one, and they got theirs, but unfortunately, I didn't really measure up uh, back then.
Wow,
It's a,
that's surprising.
yeah, I thought I had a pretty decent shot since the game Elements is so similar, but um, well, it's it's a manual review after all, so I can't be too beaten down about it. I did apply again a few months ago because that was like a year later from the first one, and they said that you can apply it anytime again if you want to.
Hmm.
But I'm still waiting for a response, but it can take like several months to actually get a response from them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe there'll be better luck this second time around.
Yeah, I really hope so. Like, since I'm basically a solo person, these 18k goes a really long way. The Cristalla team got 110, but they're a team of 20 actually paid people. So it's like if you look towards paying yourself, this would go way further since I'm alone,
Hmm.
basically. So I don't really need too much funding, and that's the basis for my 10k goal as well.
Hmm.
I'm far into the development, and I don't actually need a whole lot to complete the campaign now, so I can set a pretty low goal for such an ambitious project.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that's about it. Was there? I thought Ivan, did you want to ask a question as well?
Yeah, I kind of had one. You mentioned that you had around 1,200 leads when you launched the campaign, your
Yeah.
lead list. I am, to give you context, I'm a very old person, so I don't do anything with social media. So I'm just wondering, I know you mentioned you had a Discord, but I'm wondering, other than the Discord, how
Yeah.
did you get the leads?
All right, so I've been actually I actually been gathering it since I started. So I didn't know what I wanted to use it for just yet, but I started gathering them, and it's been through Twitter, and it's been through Facebook, a little bit of TikTok. Uh, that has been a really small part of it since like I don't really have any editing skills. I, so I'm not doing so well on TikTok, I'm afraid. and then YouTube. I've been using YouTube like as a personal, like a logbook, just to sort of have a look at all the. That's weird.
So for
Right.
YouTube, if somebody subscribes to your channel, you consider that a lead then because you can post
No,
something and
no.
no. Okay.
So I use this as like a just log in every update I've made for new mechanics. So there's like 130, yeah, 132 videos here. But every time somebody looks at these, I actually have a bunch of links leading them to the Discord or the Twitter
I
or
see.
the store page. So it helps sort of collecting these by funneling them towards a sign up page where they can sign up to get the um, information regarding Lorne whenever something happens. Like we had a demo for the next fest, for example. Then we reached out to a bunch of people just to sort of bring in more people to the store page when next fest launched, to try to get a little bit more traffic there. So the lead list is email addresses gathered over time through people's interest in the game, basically.
Okay. Thanks.
Awesome. Great. So that's about it for the Kickstarter page. I have a recording here for some Lorne gameplay if you want to have a look. The early gameplay is kind of way different right now than you'll see in this recording. Most the changes are mostly that this is before we sort of change direction toward a more arcadey game loop where you have the whole invasion system with a bunch of waves and the world reset and all that. This was when we were, or I was aiming for a like a long story mode. But it was really clear after the next fest that the first of all, like the dialogue, the campaign or the story quests, and the voice acting and the implementation of the whole storyline is the single biggest thing, like workload wise in the game. And less than 1 out of 10 actually spend time on that. So it was a pretty much a no-brainer for me to cut it out when at Steam Next Fest I watched like over 100 different people play the game, and there were fewer than 10 that actually was really excited about the story itself. However, they were really interested in the world. They wanted to go out and explore, and they were really interested in sort of how the combat played and the different systems that were in place. So I cut out the single biggest post or ticket I still had to implement, and had a way shorter uh, game loop to tie together. So the thing that you'll see in this recording will be like the story part won't really be there where you have a main quest, but you still have the dialogue and the dialogue options and all that. So since this is a recording, feel free to jump in and ask questions at any time. That's completely fine.
I had a question.
Yeah,
Kind of maybe a bit tangent, but so you mentioned that the current game is different than what we're seeing in this video here, and you mentioned how it was different. I'm wondering, I saw on Steam that you released a demo, and
yeah,
I'm wondering if the demo is the old gameplay, and what are your thoughts around releasing a demo, especially because the demo is obviously going to be early gameplay, and if do you have
yeah.
to re-release the demo and the amount of time it takes to do that, and
So actually, it's not too long until the early access will be launched. So the Kickstarter campaign backers will get an early access invitation probably around April or May next year. And pretty much immediately after that, there will be a early access release. So I'm not sure if there will be an actual demo in between.
But there is a demo out there now, right?
Yeah, and that's with
Okay.
the old gameplay,
The old. Okay.
or like the story focus, story driven gameplay.
So now that you know that people weren't as interested in the story part of it, do you feel that it was good that you released that early on, the demo, or maybe you shouldn't have released
A-
the demo?
Absolutely, I wanted to make a like a storyline and like have that thing leading the player, but since I was I asked like I talked to a lot of people that I noticed this behavior because I was just observing the like how people were playing it. I didn't actually talk to them before, and they didn't know I was watching them either. And what I noticed was that people that didn't actually complain that much about the story. It's pretty indie. Like the quality is definitely not AAA, but they weren't too bothered by the actual story. More that they wanted to focus on other things.
Okay, thanks.
And I assume that this part here that we're seeing, the tutorial stuff, is probably still important to the game, even though it's not so story driven, right? You
Yeah,
still need to teach the player how to do all the mechanics and everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I actually had a different implementation. We're going to have a different implementation for it. So instead of having this early part, I want to try to make it a little bit more interesting. So the core component of the game now is that you place a power core, which is like an artifact basically that will sort of trigger the whole loop. So once you place the power core, as soon as you do that, there will be like a sort of a freeze frame with a short like explanation of what's going on. Like you place the power core, watch out, here comes a few enemies or something like that. Uh, that will then like sort of show a timer for when the next invasion comes and so on and so on. And these pop-ups will direct you toward the same things you already see here, like the NPC is telling you what to do. You will still be led through this, but inside the world instead. Because all of these mechanics are really important to be able to solve the puzzles, and they are implemented or introduced very slowly. So inside this temple, it's yet very, very basic stuff. And as you get further along, you'll have something I call soft tutorials, which are basically Evelyn, the main character, having triggered voice lines telling you, oh, you could do this maybe with this thing, um, to introduce the less important things, and then it's up to the player to explore further, of course. Uh, so one example of this would be if you walk to a like a knife fan that spins really quickly. The first time you do that, you will have a trigger where Evelyn will say something along the lines that ice arrows could probably slow these down. Um, and we have a lot of those scattered around the world as well for less important things.
Do you have someone on the team dedicated to the art side of things, or are you outsourcing the art?
No, so a lot of it is placeholders that I'm hoping to be able to change now. I have one person that is making a few custom models, but mostly it's just me, like kit bashing stuff.
Oh wow, you've done a great
As
job then, because it all looks pretty consistent.
yeah, thanks. I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's been really important to try to make things look like decently the same, which is not always easy. But usually when I can't really get something to look good enough, I just go in and fiddle with all the sliders and see what happens when I change them basically, and then I start making them as similar as possible to make the world feel more cohesive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this started out like this is the same project I used to learn Unreal Engine with your course originally. I've never changed the actual project, so it's still the same thing. So everything in this project is my first project ever, and depending on where you go, you have like very different quality in terms of like level design or the mechanics that are coded. So I have to go back like and revisit parts of the game every now and then just to make sure nothing is like too poorly designed or coded. So this is the part where the tutorial gets a little bit too long, I think. At this point, this is the second part of the tutorial. Um, and I feel like a lot of people here just wanted to get through everything to sort of start exploring the game. So I think one way to design around the impatience is to make it more like action driven early on to make sure it feels like you're maybe like in danger or that you have to be somewhere to sort out some sort of problem and not just the very slow paced introduction I had in the tutorial temple, followed by a lot of training dialogue now with Valerian, which is the old guy, uh, just telling you how to fight basically.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you started off with my UE4 course, but obviously this game has evolved into, something a lot more serious than, a tutorial project, and it looks like you've had to go and learn a lot of things on your own aside from just the tutorials you took from me. I'm sure you've taken other tutorials from other instructors as well. Um, have you found some topics that some mechanics or some features that you wanted to add to your game that you couldn't find any tutorials for? I know that happens a lot when. Um,
Yeah, that for sure was a huge problem early on.
hmm
Now I think I would probably be able to get around pretty much everything I need to do or make. Uh, but early on, I had a lot of issues where I just got stuck with. I wanted a specific mechanic, and to be honest, there's been like a combination of me cutting out a few things I originally wanted just to add to the game. But if they were extremely important, I looked for either an asset, a tutorial, or a course for that had a specific thing, and then I started to break it down to understand how it was built up. Uh, but maybe after 1.5 years or so, I started seeing like how most of it is basically communication between classes, basically.
hmm
So at that point, I just need to figure out how do I make this thing talk to this other thing, and once I understood that part, the rest was pretty much straightforward. So to answer your question a little bit shorter, if I early on if I didn't know what to do, I either looked for an asset, a course, if I couldn't find a tutorial on it,
hmm
and I tried to learn from those. And in most cases, I actually made my own version of the asset, or if it was a course, I pretty much copied it one and then started uh, like making changes to it once it was implemented.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's nice when you reach that point where you can pretty much come up with a solution to really anything you think of, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like the first probably year and a half or so of development is you kind of need to see some tutorials or examples, and then after a certain amount of time, you kind of reach that point where it's all you've kind of encountered most of the types of problems out there, so you can sort of
Yeah,
put the
absolutely.
solution together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the things like I get stuck on now that I have to spend way more time on, I never like if I sit down, I don't think I have many like 0% progress days. Even if it's something I'm kind of stuck on, like a system. In this case, I'm trying to make the NPCs focus on like a specific target order, but also have in consideration the pathing because I want them to attack buildings and the player and the companions and the power core, and I want it to be made in specific order based on distance, or if something is attacking you. So things are getting a little bit more complex when you get to those kind of issues rather than how do I make this platform move and then take a pause for 5 seconds before moving again. It's very different to approach. But whenever I sit down at this point, I actually make progress toward those more complicated things as well.
Yeah, it's a little different when there's different categories of targets, and now you have hierarchies and priorities, right? So
Yeah,
things
exactly.
can get very complicated.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why the systems are still decoupled because I am making progress every time I sit down with it, but due to the Kickstarter campaign, I haven't actually sort of tied it all together again.
Hmm.
But I do have the first few like target priorities in order, but I want some more. I want the AI consider a few more like parameters as well for the targeting before I'm completely happy with it, because you can get some really weird results uh, once you start actually playing the game, where you can have like an enemy ignoring the win condition for the AI, just because you were slightly closer, or you can do a lot of damage to a bunch of enemies, but they're ignoring you, just going for the win condition. You need to sort of play it and see like what, as a player, how would you expect this to play out, because it needs to be fun as well. Because if you only optimize AI for to actually win, it will be really boring if they're too like good or too focused. But you also want them to feel intelligent enough to actually threaten you.
Yeah, and that's a you bring up a good you make me think of a question. Testing can bring out those edge cases, right? So my question is for the first players, like the alpha players, are you going to have any kind of like bug submission report
Yeah,
capability? Yeah, that I was going to say that's a pretty good idea, so you can gather that info about the any possible
yeah,
bugs and you can fix them.
yeah. That's a really good question, and the answer in short is yes. We actually implemented a ticket system into our Discord server for the next fest, so we will repurpose that for the alpha testing as well. But the idea is basically to make sure the Kickstarter backers get a lot of say in like the direction we go with tweaking stuff, or priority of the bugs depending on how much it affects the fun of the game, because that has to be like the goal,
Mm-hmm.
to make it as fun as possible. So um, that's one way to do it. I'm not sure if Steam has something built in. I'm not too
Yeah, I'm not sure.
well versed with the Steam toolset yet, but we have a ticket system in Discord that was pretty easy to both implement and follow up on. So we used it for the next fest to go to make tickets on Trello.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, did you have any other things you'd like to mention before we wrap up? And also, feel free to plug everything. Let us know where we can get more information, where we can obviously back the Kickstarter, and where we can view your devlog, your YouTube channel, and anything else you want to plug as well.
Yeah, so well, not really. I just thought it was a lot of fun to visit the Discord and actually talk to some people. You can find Lorne on Kickstarter if you feel like you want to back it. The game is going to be cheaper there than anywhere else. But I mean, if you're interested, that's great. You can reach out to me. I'm not really here to plug my own stuff right now. I just wanted to share the process actually that I've been
Awesome.
going through.
All
Great.
right. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. This is a very inspiring story. I think everyone is going to be really excited to watch this. I was going to ask, are you okay if I post this up on YouTube so people can watch this later?
Yeah, of course. That doesn't. I don't mind at all.
Okay. Awesome. Did anyone else have any questions before we wrap up?
Yes, I have one question. You have mentioned a system of invader, comme attacking the base. Can you
Yeah.
tell us more about it?
Yeah. All right. So the way it will work, uh, like on a very high level, you start a game, you will get a pop-up telling you to gather a few things to build your first, the power core is what I call it right now, which is basically a thing that will claim land around you. You can upgrade the power core for a larger area of land to build your base on. But as soon as you like build the power core, you will have a few very weak enemies attacking you. Then it will tell you that every 45 to 55 minutes there will be an invasion of your base. So after that point, it will be very similar to a tower defense game, but from the point of view of a cell like the Link character from Zelda. Um, so you will between those 45 to 55 minutes, you will be uh, just have the open world for yourself. You choose where you want to go, if you want to fish, farm, explore, temple, different temples, if you want to just gather resources. It's up to you for the duration of that time. But once the invasion starts, you can teleport back home and then defend your base. And in order to defend the base, you will have to sort of build your uh, arrow archer towers. You'll have to build your improved walls, traps, hire rangers to protect the base, and so on. Every wave will be harder, and every fourth wave will be uh, one of the main bosses that I originally had planned to be spread across the world. They will instead attack your base. So I think there's a total of 16 waves with
Awesome.
four of the main bosses. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. And yeah, it's really inspiring, and I'm really happy and proud of your success and your accomplishments. Um, it's really nice to see. So thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping me set this up. It was really fun.
All right, awesome. So yeah, and we'll go ahead and post this online, and we'll see that we'll share that to the Discord in a couple days. And everyone here watching and listening, go and uh, either back the Kickstarter, wishlist it on Steam, or just look forward to seeing the game come out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just say hello. That's fine too.
yeah. Just say hello.
All
Awesome.
right. Cool.
Well, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.